Good afternoon, and thank you for being here. Thank you for your patience. We want to share as much information as we can about the tragedy this morning. I'm joined by Mike Resnick, who is the Director of Public Safety, Sam Phillips, the Director of the Office of Emergency Management, Fire Commissioner Derrick Sawyer, Local 22 President Joe Shuley, and a number of the leadership members of the Philadelphia Fire Department. Councilwoman Marion Tasco is here. I greatly appreciate her presence in coming here today. Joyce Craig-Lewis, our firefighter, lived in her district. Joyce Craig-Lewis, 36 years old, is a decorated 11-year veteran of the Philadelphia Fire Department, one of 150 women serving in the fire department, put on a uniform each and every day, and they risk their lives serving our city. Those 150 women some are firefighters, some are paramedics, and officers in the fire service. Early this morning at Einstein Medical Center, I offered condolences and spent some time with Joyce's family, a very large family of Philadelphians, and a number of friends came to the hospital as well. She was a much-loved mother, daughter, and sister. I did not know Joyce personally, but I've come to know a number of things about her. She loved her job. She was a highly trained firefighter who served in some of the busiest stations in the city on behalf of our citizens. Specifically, Engine 9 and Ladder 21, 6900 Germantown Avenue, in the Germantown section of our city. Engine 45, 2535 West York Street in North Philadelphia. And Engine 64, Rising Sun and Benner in the Ronhurst section. She graduated from Dobbins High School and later earned her certification as an EMT. Our thoughts and prayers go out to firefighter Craig-Lewis's family, for this brave firefighter gave her life attempting to save the life of an elderly, frail woman this morning. The resident was rescued from the home, and she is staying with some neighbors. Joyce is survived by her son, Mackay Dante Green, 16 years old, her daughter, Milani Lewis, 16 months old, her mother, Carol Craig, her father, James Craig, her brother, Kareem Craig, her sister, Eurus Payton, and another sister, LaFaris McCausey. Family liaison officer from the fire department, as is our protocol, has been assigned. The kids are presently staying with family members. It's a very sad day for all of us in public service, and certainly for all of our citizens. The Philadelphia Fire Department, one of the best in the United States of America, the first organized department, suffered a tremendous loss, but that loss extends to all Philadelphians. And with that, I'll ask Fire Commissioner Sawyer to give some of the details as we best know them from this morning. Again, I want to ask for your understanding. We do not have every possible detail, and there is an ongoing investigation, again, as is our protocol. We'll share what we can share based on what we know definitively at the moment. Commissioner?
First, I'd like to start by offering my condolences to the Craig-Lewis family, and not only to her family, but to the fire department family. To those members that had the task of removing her from that dwelling as she gave her life to ensure that another member of this city lived their life. Approximately 2:49 this morning, we received a call in fire communications for a dwelling fire. Subsequently, a local alarm was dispatched, or a tactical box, which is 2 engines, 2 ladders, and 2 chiefs. And upon location, we received an initial report of nothing showing. After further investigation, they realized that the fire was in the basement. The arriving battalion chief upgraded that assignment to a full box assignment, which gives us another 2 engines. During this firefight, those that know anything about basement fires know that basement fires are a challenge. But during this firefight, the incident commander commanded the first arriving company to withdraw from the basement. After the withdrawal, they realized that firefighter Craig-Lewis was missing. They went back in to search for her, and they were not able to get her out before she passed. We conducted first aid CPR on the scene and en route to the hospital. Upon arrival to the hospital, she was pronounced. Again, the fire is under investigation by the fire marshal's office. These are very preliminary. This is a very preliminary timeline, and we believe that once we finish this investigation, we'll have more answers. Yes, sir. Well, like I said earlier, at this time it's under investigation. We've collected all of her equipment, and part of the process of the investigation is looking at the equipment, including her alarm. So we'll have more information on that as the investigation goes further.
Mr. What can you tell us about her? Did you know her well personally? What can you tell us about what some of her colleagues and coworkers have had to say to you about this tragedy this morning?
Well, everybody's heartbroken, and I did know her personally. I know that she was a hard worker. I knew that she was a firefighter's firefighter. Like I said, she started out at Engine 9, which is a pretty decent company, and wanted to learn her craft and asked to be transferred to a busier company. She spent time at that company learning her craft and doing a great job. She's received a unit citation for efforts at another station where her efforts enabled other residences to be rescued. So she was an excellent firefighter.
Single mom?
Well, I'm not sure she's a single mom. I know that she was married. She has 2 children, one of 16 months, which I actually met about 6 months ago. She brought her daughter down to fire headquarters. So her son is a teenager, and I know that he's hurting right now. You're talking about a teenager that's doing good in school, an athlete who just lost his mother. So,
Commissioner, can you tell us, do you have any idea what part of the basement this fire started, and is there any indication of what the cause could be, at least a preliminary report at the time?
at this time, I couldn't tell you what part of the basement. All basement fires are dangerous regardless of what part they start in. So no, it's under investigation. The fire marshal is still on scene now conducting that investigation, and I couldn't tell you where it began at right now.
Do you know where she was in relation to the other firefighters? Was she like one of the initial firefighters that was down there? Can you also explain to us, when you're dealing with the fire in the basement, I mean, what's it like? I mean, how far can you see? I mean, I've heard you couldn't even see your hand in reaching it. I mean, can you talk about some of those things and where she may have been in relation to the other firefighters from what you know?
Absolutely. So she was part of the initial attack crew, and whenever you have a first-aid company or an initial attack crew, you have a firefighter company officer, so they act as a team. And they go in as a team, and the goal is to come out as a team. When you have a basement fire, the challenge is that most fires on the first and second floor can vent up. Whether you know it or not, heat and smoke rises. But in a basement fire with that heat and smoke rising, when you go down into that basement, you're actually running down into that heat and smoke. So it makes it a little bit more challenging. It's like running down into a chimney. So if you're at the top of the chimney, all the heat and smoke rises to the top. When you run into a basement fire, it's the same effect. So it's always going to be very challenging to get down and try to find the seat of the fire and extinguish that fire.
When you say they go in as a team and come out as a team, can you give us some kind of idea of the checks you'll be going through to see how she became left behind or trapped without anyone knowing?
Right. Well, that'd be a part of the investigation. We'll listen to FCC tapes. We'll investigate all the members of the first in companies. We'll talk to the first in battalion chief and the first in deputy chief to find out everything that happened.
Can you give us an idea of how it's supposed to work, if it's working ideally, what each member of the team is doing on the way in and on the way out?
Well, the person on the tip is advancing the hose line. You should have a company officer. And then we have what we call a pack person, or somebody that's wearing self-contained breathing apparatus, which their responsibility is to help ventilate or advance the hose line so that we can get down to the area safely.
Where was she in the line? So I imagine, I don't know the house, but it's small, so I imagine it was one staircase.
Right.
Do you know where she was in terms of she the first one going down, was she the second?
Well, I can't, no, I don't know because I wasn't there, but I know that she's a great firefighter. I know that she gave her life saving, protecting a residents of the city, and that's all I can say about that.
How many people are on that team? And can you kind of give us a rough idea of the amount of time we're talking about from the entry to the moment you realize you have to come out? I suspect it's a very short period of time, and it's a very chaotic situation.
Yeah.
How many members are on the team, and what we're talking in terms
So for an engine company, you have an officer and 3 members, but remember, one of those members are there at the engine providing the source of water, a water supply.
you might have 3 people?
So you have actually 3 people entering that environment.
And I assume we're talking about a very tight frame of time at this moment, going in and coming out?
I'm not sure of the timeline of when they actually, I would have to look at the records. So what happened was they advanced the hose line. When the incident commander arrived on scene, he decided to change tactics based on the nature and conditions, pulled them out. So the timeline of when that happened, we don't have that yet until we listen to the tapes.
So there's 3 that go inside.
Yes.
And then, so he's looking to pull 3 out of there.
That's
And you
correct.
have the 4th one who's out, making sure the water's getting through.
That's correct.
Talk about who went and rescued her, to actually pull her out. When you talk about who actually went in to rescue her, everyone gets out of her, who goes in to rescue her? Can you talk about that rescue operation?
It becomes an all-hands service when you're rescuing one of our members. So everybody on that fire ground changed their efforts to making sure they find her and get her out. All hands.
Commissioner, is there a record of this emergency code or beacon being given out? Does someone can tell whether that was done by a button push or
I didn't hear your question.
this emergency tone or this emergency beacon?
Okay.
Is there a record of that having been triggered or what do you know about that?
We're still doing an investigation.
What is that actually called? What is it?
It's called a PASS device, personal assistant safety device.
Where would that be? Can you explain where it is and how does that work?
Well, the newer PASS devices, it's actually personal alert safety system. So they're usually on the member's self-contained breathing apparatus. And what happens is when you're not moving for a certain amount of time, it automatically goes off.
So is that what happened? So that personal device,
Yes.
the firefighter doesn't have to trigger it, correct?
No.
They're
Exactly.
not moving for a certain amount of time.
Correct.
After how many seconds or minutes, when it's supposed to trigger? Can you talk about that?
I'm not sure. I think it's 5 minutes. I'm not sure of the time. I'm not sure.
They can trigger it though, right?
Who can?
Personally.
Oh, absolutely. They can trigger it themselves, yes.
How does that alert the other firefighters on scene? Is it by ear? How does it alert the other firefighters? Like,
It's a loud noise. Do you have a smoke alarm in your home? Your smoke alarm beeps? It's a loud noise like a smoke alarm, but louder.
So right now, you don't know if it's worked or not.
Pardon?
Right now, you don't know whether it worked or not, whether it was triggered or what.
No, that's part of the investigation. All of her equipment has been packaged, sent to the safety office, and an investigation will be conducted.
Commissioner, I just want to ask, the mayor talked about her rescue, helping with the rescue of an elderly woman. Was that elderly woman in the basement, or was she in another part of the house?
She was in another part of the house.
So,
Again, the firefighter's in the basement trying to fight the fire, okay, first and foremost. That is their primary focus and mission when they come in. They also realize, of course, that there is a person in the home, but they're trying to get to the fire. Fire in the basement, as the Commissioner said. Very intense, a lot of smoke, significant amount of heat, tremendously disorienting upon first entry, because it's all coming at you. Commander on the scene makes a decision for folks to retreat and have another group of officers come in. The other questions that you're asking are all a part of the larger investigation, so we just won't be able to answer about equipment issues and the like. All of that equipment is now in safekeeping, be a part of the larger investigation. So it's impossible to answer some of those questions about, did she hit the button, was she not moving, did it work, did it not work? We're going to obviously assume that the equipment is functioning properly, but it's impossible to say what happened exactly at that moment until there's a full investigation, which we will do.
And Mayor, I respect that, but I'm just trying to ask, you had mentioned that her heroic actions helped save the senior citizen. I'm just trying to get a little bit more information about what specifically her actions did to save the senior. Did she notify?
Trying to put the fire out. Okay, there are other officers on the scene. I don't necessarily know that Joyce put her hands on the senior citizen. It was probably another officer. She was fighting the fire, which ultimately, unfortunately, she died in that fire.
There is that while the bomb officer was in the basement, some other firefighters took the other woman out of the house.
That's what I believe, yes.
I want to talk about really quickly the personal safety device. We know the firefighter was removed from the fire. There's no indication, based upon what we've heard, that the alarm was sounded by the personal safety device. We would know at this point if that's how they located her. Would
There's no indication.
Thank
And let me say one more thing. Her actions, just so you understand, you asked a specific question, right?
Right.
Her containing the fire to that basement allows that civilian to get out. So that's how her actions saved that life. Her containing that fire to the basement so that there's a spread of the steps, that's her action actually contributed to that person getting out safe.
But again,
Last,
There's no indication that her device went off, that you're saying. Is that what you're saying?
I didn't say that.
well, no, wait, she's located in the fire. We've been told that the device either goes off because you yourself, the firefighter, signals it, or
Right.
a lack of motion signals it. I'm presuming, based on what we've heard, it never went off before such time as she was located.
and we're saying you should not make that presumption. You should make no presumption whatsoever
Right.
until we actually
But
have
you
an
said
opportunity to get the equipment
I understand.
and review it.
I understand, but we've talked to, I'm certain you've talked to firefighters who've been on the scene. Has anyone told you that they heard the alarm?
I haven't talked to him about hearing anything, but what I can tell you for a fact is she was found. So she was found. Those firefighters put her out.
Commissioner, I'm just trying to get a little clarity. You said the firefighter can trigger the alarm.
Yes.
But if they're not moving, you said for a minimum of 5 minutes, then the alarm will go off by itself, or would it go off sooner?
I'm not sure of the timeline, but I know if you're motionless, the alarm will go off. It's 20, actually, so the actual time is 20 seconds.
So if
So-
you're not moving for 20 seconds, okay.
Correct. 20 seconds, it'll activate.
So, thank you all very, very much. At the moment we have more details and information, we'll be glad to supply it.
Fire marshal actually does the investigation, and the equipment will be sent out to be tested.
Right. There's no timeline on either. Fire marshal takes however long the fire marshal takes. The testing takes as long as it takes.
But who does the testing? I mean,
I have no idea.
where does it get sent out to? National, a federal organization, state, or who looks at that?
Goes
NIOSH,
to NIOSH.
NIOSH, National Occupational Institute of Safety and Health.
Okay, NIOSH, right?
Yeah.
National Institute of Occupational
Exactly.
Safety.
And they take as long as they take to complete their investigation. Thank you all very much. Yeah. We'll get you all of that, okay? Guys, we're done. We're done. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I said last question. Thanks, Harry. You're welcome.